and trying to balance a half-eaten sandwich between my teeth. When she walked in flawless, unbothered, and holding a pink hydro flask that matched her perfect manicure, "Need help?" she asked, smiling with that kind of effortless warmth that makes you believe people mean well. I nodded. And just like that, we became best friends, the kind of best friends that finish each other's sentences, that stay up late laughing about nothing. That's where they'll be bridesmaids at each other's weddings even if they're just 20. And haven't figured out how taxes work. Lauren was everything I wasn't: outgoing, bold, unapologetically herself. I was more cautious, quiet, the kind of person who always double-checked the weather before stepping outside. But with her, I felt bigger than I was, braver, like maybe I could be spontaneous too. After college, we moved into a tiny apartment in Denver together. We both landed entry-level jobs that paid just enough to cover rent, takeout, and the occasional Target splurge. Life was chaotic, but it felt like a shared adventure. By the time we turned 26, we'd both been through a breakup or two, suffered career doubts, and collected enough student loan debt to fill a novel. So when Lauren turned to me one rainy Friday night and said, "We need a trip, just us, no drama," I jumped at the idea. "I'll plan it." I offered. "You sure?" she said, already sipping her wine. "You always go full Pinterest mom when you plan trips." I laughed. "Exactly. That's why it'll be amazing." She didn't argue. Over the next few weeks, I poured everything into the plan. Flights to Santorini, a boutique hotel with a sea view, sunset sailing, cooking class with a local chef. I used my entire savings not because I wanted to show off, but because Lauren had been there for me during my worst. She was the one who brought me soup during my flu, who cheered when I got promoted, who sat with me in the air when my mom had her heart scare. This trip, it was my way of saying thank you, a memory for us, a reset. 2 weeks before we were set to leave, I texted her our finalized itinerary in a Canva-made PDF, Santorini Girls Escape, with all the details neatly organized. She reacted with a heart emoji, and then silence. At first, I assumed she was busy. She had a chaotic job and an unpredictable schedule. But days passed. I followed up twice, no reply. I even left a voicemail. A week out, I was starting to panic. I hadn't bought travel insurance. Everything was in my name. Then, one evening, I opened Instagram and my heart stopped. Lauren had posted a photo of herself at the airport, holding a passport. Caption: "Family comes first, hashtag mom and me." Time behind her, her mother, standing in front of the exact same airline counter we were supposed to check in at, holding one of the tote bags I had customized for our trip. My trip. I scrolled through the photos, my stomach twisting tighter with every swipe. The hotel, the boat, the damn cooking class. She hadn't changed a thing. She took everything I had planned, everything I had paid for, and went with her mom instead. I texted her. Nothing. I called. Straight to voicemail. I opened Venmo to see if maybe, just maybe, she had paid me something back. Block. Everywhere. My chest felt hollow. My hands shook. My mind raced with questions I couldn't form into words. What had I done? Why didn't she say anything? Was I just replaceable? I sat on the floor, the glow of her beach selfie still lighting up my phone screen. She looked radiant, carefree, like I didn't even exist. That night, I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Somewhere between 3 o'clock and 4 a.m., I opened the itinerary I'd made, every line carefully crafted, every detail chosen for her. I read it, like a stranger, and for the first time, I saw what I had missed. I had given her everything. My time, my effort, my money, my trust, and she hadn't even said goodbye. The next morning, I called in sick to work. I didn't have the energy to pretend I was okay, to sit in front of a screen and smile through meetings, while my chest still felt like someone had hollowed it out with an ice cream scoop. I laid on the couch in sweatpants, wrapped in the throw blanket Lauren once gifted me for Christmas. I remember her saying, "So you can feel cozy even when I'm not around." The irony stung like salt on a paper cut. My phone buzzed a few times that day, but it was never her, just promotional emails, a food delivery app, and one message from my mom reminding me about my cousin's baby shower. I didn't respond to any of it. I wish I could say I was angry. I wish I could tell you I punched a pillow or screamed into the void. But I didn't. I just felt small, embarrassed, like someone had let me believe in a version of our friendship that never existed. In the days that followed, I avoided social media, until one night I slipped. I clicked her profile again. Lauren had posted a new reel. Her and her mom dancing barefoot on the beach at sunset. The same beach I had booked our hotel for. The same beach I imagined we'd sit at sipping cocktails, laughing until our stomachs hurt. The caption read, "This was supposed to be a solo trip, but mom needed it more." Hashtag mother-daughter goal solo trip, needed it more? My throat tightened as I read the comments. @Mel_the_boss. Oh my god, this is goals at Jadenla. Didn't you plan this with your BFF though? At Lawrence Sunshine. Comment deleted was actively erasing me, scrubbing away evidence that I ever matter. Still. A piece of me wanted answers. So I sent her one last email. Subject. Just tell me why. Lauren, I'm not writing this to start drama. I just need to understand. Why didn't you tell me? Why did you block me instead of just talking to me? I spent everything I had on that trip, for us. For memories I thought we'd make together. If you didn't want to go, if things changed, I would have understood. But ghosting me, taking everything and pretending like I didn't exist? You were my best friend. You were supposed to be family. Please, just tell me why. Emilish never replied. Instead, I got a bounce back 2 days later. She had deleted the email account. That's when something shifted. A quiet, fierce anger started to bloom under the sadness, not explosive but sharp, focused. I pulled out my journal and started writing, not about her, but about me, about the ways I had constantly put her first, about the sacrifices I had made emotionally, financially, even logistically to support someone who had always subtly made me feel like I owed her. And then I wrote something I hadn't allowed myself to admit before. Lauren didn't change. I just finally saw her clearly. The thing is, she had always chosen herself. I just used to admire that. I used to think it was confidence. But now I saw the pattern, how it was always her needs, her comfort, her narrative. She didn't leave me behind on that trip. She never brought me along in the first place. I started cleaning our apartment that week, not to erase her, but to reclaim it. The shared gallery wall? I took it down, the fridge magnets from past road trips, gone, the robe she left in the bathroom. Donated. And when the lease renewal came up, I said no. It wasn't impulsive, it was necessary. I didn't want to live in a space that whispered her name every time I walked in the door. I didn't want to sit on that couch and remember the wine nights, the giggles, the fake promises of forever friendship. So I moved out. I found a studio apartment downtown, small, sunlit, and mine. I started fresh, new furniture, new curtains, new ritual of making coffee at sunrise with no one talking over my thoughts. For the first time in years, the silence wasn't heavy. It was peaceful. In my new apartment, everything moved slower. I no longer woke up to Lauren's Spotify playlists, blasting at 7 a.m., or heard her voice on long phone calls she took on speaker like the whole world needed to hear her. Updates. The silence was strange at first, but slowly, it became comforting. I could finally think. I started cooking for myself again, rediscovering how peaceful it felt to eat alone without rushing or making conversation. I reconnected with old hobbies, sketching, reading the books I had shelved for later, even attempting yoga. Though I was more wobble than warrior pose, still, the wound Lauren left wasn't healing neatly. It throbbed unexpectedly. Sometimes I'd see a pair of girls laughing in a cafe and feel an ache I couldn't describe. Other times I'd reach for my phone to send her a meme or a joke and then remember. She was gone, not just from my phone, but from my life. And not because I'd done anything wrong, but because I had finally learned what she was capable of. There were layers to that grief. It wasn't just about the trip or the money. It was about everything that came before. The nights I sat by her side after her breakup with Dylan. The way I covered for her when she lied to her boss about being sick. The time I let her crash at my parents' house when she couldn't afford rent. Lauren wasn't just a friend, she was a chapter of my life, and now, that chapter was closed, stripped out, really. One afternoon, while sorting through some old moving boxes, I came across a photo album she made for my birthday 3 years earlier. On the front, in her handwriting, it read, "To my ride or die Emily." I froze for a second. I almost put it away. But something made me sit down and open it. Each page was a memory us in college wearing ridiculous, matching Halloween costumes, a road trip to Arizona, drunken selfies from New Year's. Notes scribbled under each picture like, "I'll never not have your back and best weekend ever. Just us." I didn't cry. I just stared. It was like looking at a ghost, and then I closed the book, stood up, and dropped it into the donation pile. It wasn't bitterness, it was clarity. I had mourned her long enough. Now I needed to move on. A month later, I took a small trip just for myself. I went up to Breckenridge for a long weekend, stayed in a quiet urban cabin with views of the mountains. I hiked, I journaled, I sipped hot chocolate under a sky so clear it felt unreal. I didn't post about it, I didn't share it in real time. It wasn't for anyone else's feed, it was mine. That Sunday evening, wrapped in a blanket on the porch, I finally let myself ask the question I'd avoided. Why did she do it? And the truth landed gently, not like a slap, but like a realization, because she could. Because I let her over and over again. I had spent years putting people first, thinking that love meant sacrifice, that friendship meant loyalty no matter what. But real friendship, healthy love has boundaries, it has respect. and Lauren had crossed every single one. I wasn't the girl who got left behind. I was a woman who woke up. That Monday, I returned home with a new idea. I started a blog. Nothing fancy, just a small space online to write about self-worth, healing, and starting over. I called it after the blog, a quiet nod to how everything changed the day Lauren cut me off. To my surprise, it gained traction. Other women messaged me with similar stories, friendships that ended without warning. People they trusted turning cold, some cried. Some just wanted to be heard, and I listened, I replied. I kept writing because maybe this wasn't just my story. Maybe it was a pattern, one we rarely talk about. The pain of losing a friend. The heartbreak of being replaced. The way society doesn't let us grieve female friendships the same way. We do romantic ones, but the pain is just as real, and so is the healing. By the time spring rolled around, my blog had become something more than a place to vent. It turned into a quiet community, women from across the country, all writing in, commenting, sharing stories about betrayals, breakups, and the slow, painful loss of people they once called best friend. Some had known their Laurens for 2 years, some since childhood, and yet, the heartbreak echoed the same. We weren't crazy. We weren't overreacting. And we definitely weren't alone. One message in particular stuck with me. It was from a woman named Riley, who wrote, I used to think it was my fault every time someone left. I spent years apologizing for things I didn't even do. Thank you for helping me realize I deserve peace, not confusion. I read it 3 times. I knew that version of Riley. I had been her. And it wasn't just about Lauren anymore, it was about how easy it was to abandon yourself. While trying to hold someone else together, I started sharing more deeply. Not just what Lauren did, but what I let happen, how often I dismissed my instincts. How often I chose keeping the peace over keeping my dignity. How, somewhere along the line, I started thinking love meant giving until there was nothing left for me. And then one day, out of nowhere, a message arrived in my inbox with a name I hadn't seen in nearly a year. Subject, hope this isn't too late. It was Lauren. My chest tightened as I hovered over the email. I didn't open it right away. I made tea, paced my living room, thought about deleting it. But curiosity won. Lauren's email. Hey I don't know where to start, and honestly, I don't know if I even deserve to. But I saw your blog, someone sent it to me. I read every post. I didn't even recognize the girl you were writing about until it hit me. That was me. I was selfish, I was careless. And I'm not writing to excuse it, I just want to say I'm sorry. I didn't know how to tell you. I was overwhelmed, I panicked. I was scared about money, scared about the trip, scared about everything in my life, and instead of talking to you, I ran. I thought bringing my mom would make me feel safe. I didn't realize how deeply it would hurt you. I blocked you because I couldn't handle the guilt. That's not brave, it's pathetic. I get that you probably don't want anything to do with me. I wouldn't blame you. I just needed to say this. You were the best friend I ever had. I'm so sorry I didn't know how to be that for you, too. Loreni stared at the message for a long time. That it wasn't what I expected. It didn't erase the betrayal, but it didn't feel fake either. Still, I didn't respond, not because I hated her, but because sometimes closure isn't a conversation. It's a decision. I had already done the work of healing. I had already peeled myself off the floor, rebuilt my routine, and learned to love silence again. Replying to her might have opened a door I had finally closed with both hands. Instead, I saved the message in a folder called Growth, and I moved on. That summer, I started giving workshops. At first, it was just a few women in a library conference room sharing stories, journaling, crying, laughing, letting go. We called the series Unfriended but Unbroken. It wasn't glamorous. There were no viral moments or big brand sponsors, just women, sitting in circles, passing tissues, nodding when someone said something brave, and for once, I felt exactly where I was supposed to be. One night after a session, I stayed behind to clean up and noticed a young woman sitting quietly in the back. She hadn't said a word the entire night. Her eyes were red, her shoulders hunched. As I approached, she looked up and whispered, I didn't think anyone else knew how this felt. I sat beside her, handed her a water bottle, and smiled. I didn't either, I said, until I lost someone I thought would be in my life forever. She nodded, tears running freely now. And in that moment, I realized healing doesn't mean you never feel the pain again. It means you're strong enough to sit with someone else in theirs. Summer faded into fall, and the rhythm of my life shifted again, steadier now, quieter in a way that felt earned. I was no longer constantly bracing for Lauren's next mood swing or holding space for someone who didn't hold any for me. I had space for myself now, for stillness, for growth. And it showed. The blog after the blog was gaining traction in ways I hadn't imagined. A therapist from Oregon reached out, asking if she could reference one of my posts in her workshop on friendship grief. A women's magazine emailed asking for an interview. Then came a podcast invite. Small things, but they meant something.